Hey guys, let's take a look at this game by a company called Just Plain Wargames. The name of this game is called The Last Elephant Offensive. It's a Ziploc game. This is the way I bought it, in a Ziploc package. I don't know if the counters were punched already. I doubt it. I probably punched them years ago. This game's old. I've had this for some time. It's a game from 1995 from Pacific Rim Publishing. I have a number of games by Pacific Rim, most notably Balkan Storm, which I rather like. So let's take a quick look at what's in this package here. Well, let's take a quick look at the counters. They're your standard NATO symbols. There's an infantry. There's airborne. Here's some administrative markers for out of command and out of supply. That looks like a... Where'd it go? Yeah, that's a supply marker most likely. You have a yellow and a red. There's 3 digits at the bottom of each counter. It's probably attack factor, defense factor, and movement factor is probably what those 3 numbers at the bottom are. Here's a headquarters unit. They're small, probably like 3/8, very thin, single-sided. So, you know, not much here in the counter mix. We have our rule book. And inside of this, there's a couple of play arrays, looks like. Well, at least one. Well, let's see here. What do we have? We have an artillery support sheet. Here's a unit manifest. That's always nice to have. That's always nice to have. So, anyway, I guess this is a way to keep track of your artillery support. And then in the middle here, we have a combat results table, odds-based, terrain effects chart. And over here, we have our order of battle. Okay. Then we have a map, which is just as small as the counter sheet. These hexes are very small. And the counters will probably just barely fit on them. Again, I want to apologize. This game's been stored for a long time, so there's going to be some hard creases in the map. The map's pretty uninspiring. Looks like there's hills, roads, rivers, and villages. And maybe some kind of grasslands terrain. There's not a lot of terrain here, which I guess there wouldn't be in Sandgask, North Burma during 1944. But there are hills. There are a lot of hills noted, so I guess elevation probably plays a big role in this game. If it didn't, otherwise, why bother with the elevation of the hills? So getting back to the rules, we're going over the game components. 100 die-cut counters. This rule book is stapled. No, it's not even stapled. It's just folded together. The entire rule book's only 8 pages. Now it's going over the counters. Yep, just like I suspected. An attack strength, a defense strength, and a movement allowance. That's your units. Looks like you have some animal transports, elephants in this case, which have no attack or defense, but they can transport your supplies at a movement allowance of 4, which probably isn't terrible. Here we're going over artillery, their attack, defense, and support strength, and their range. And of course, here we have our markers for out of supply, out of command, and there we go, air supply. Here's a section going over the beginning play. Then we have the sequence of play. Japanese go first. There's a reinforcement phase, a command phase, a movement combat phase, followed by the Allied player turn, which takes a reinforcement, command, movement, and combat phase. Then it's going over movement, stacking rules, zones of control, supply, going over air supply, supply paths, how to trace supply. That's why there's so many headquarters units in this game. You probably have to trace supply to headquarters units. Going over command, combat. Going over the combat results. We have reinforcements. Special unit types. They're going over the animal transports, the artillery, which, like we've seen before, has its own tracking sheet. And headquarters units, platoon breakdowns, movement restrictions, the infile, Sankesk Road. Then we have some optional rules. Fog of War, greater end in aggression. Then it's going over the victory conditions for both the Japanese and the Allied player. Then the last page really is just player notes. So the actual rules themselves are probably only 6 pages. Pretty basic, simple war game. Just like they say, just plain war games. The only thing that is different would be this artillery tracking sheet. Again, the map, is pretty uninspiring. It's pretty plain. There's just basically rivers, roads, hills, and villages. And the counters themselves are small, thin, and single-sided. But man, how often do you get a counter with an elephant on it? Thanks for watching, fellas. Have a good night.